Good evening, live from Moon High School. It is Friday Night Lights for week 3 in the WPIAL. I am Ed Troop. Glad you could join us here on Oneburg, on our Oneburg Facebook channel, Oneburg YouTube. Maybe you're listening on our Spotify channel. I'm joined here tonight by Sean Saputo. Sean will be joining me in the broadcast booth. He'll have the call here at 7 o'clock tonight as West Allegheny battles the Moon Tigers here from Moon Stadium tonight. We'll have the broadcast on the Trib Live HSSN network at 7 o'clock. And Sean, it's week 3 in the WPIL. It's been a little bit of a bumpy ride these first couple weeks, mainly due to weather. We've come on and done this pregame show the last 2 weeks, and we've started out like this with sunshine. And by the end of the 15-minute hit, it's been cloudy and dreary, and then lightning followed. The last 2 weeks were rough, but tonight, as you can see behind me, it's all blue skies.
And it's going to stay that way too, which is a positive sign because we have a unique game in a way for week 3, which is really a 4th week of the season already. Some teams are playing 3 games, didn't participate in week 0. Some did participate. But what's unique about this game is we're technically, in a way, 4 weeks into this season. And in our matchup, the visiting West Allegheny Indians, well, they're playing game number 1 of the season right now.
Yeah, West A, lightning delayed, weather delayed the last 2 weeks, or not delayed, I should say canceled. So Sean just said they got a little bit of action in both those games. They scrimmaged week 0, so they didn't play that week. So as you said, tonight, weather permitting, which we expect to be perfect, they will get their first game of the season.
Yeah, and it's going to be unique to see what happens with West Allegheny because a lot of times when you have those week 0 games or if you're in that first game of the season in week 1, you still have a lot of those hiccups that you're getting through from camp. There's a lot of mistakes. West Allegheny hasn't been able to put together a full 48 minutes of football just yet. So now we're going to have to be interested to see is West Allegheny, with these extra weeks of preparation, even though games haven't been played, are they going to be able to get those necessary plays done and not make those simple mental mistakes, those false starts, those delay of games. And on the other side for the Moon Tigers, they have had a lot of work already. They played 2 full games. They've played 2 solid opponents. They already defeated one of the best quarterbacks in Class 4A in Jonah Williamson from Trinity. And last week they were in a dogfight against a solid Penn Trafford team.
This Moon Tiger football program has gotten better and better the last few years. Definitely on the rise. West Allegheny, meanwhile, and they were so good for so long with Bob Pelko, and now they got Shoppy in there, the head coach. He's trying to rebuild this program the last couple years. We'll see tonight, 7 o'clock. Is the kickoff here from Moon Township. We'll set the scene for you real quick. Sean and I will step out for a second. You can take a look. This is a live look at Moon High School, Moon Tiger Stadium. West Allegheny right behind us, warming up on the far side of the football field. Not sure if you can see them in our shot, are the Moon Tigers. They are dressed in their black tops and red pants. West Allegheny, similar colors, Sean, with both these two squads. WA, and they're all white uniforms with red numbers and lettering. Sean, let's talk about some of the top games in the WPIL for week 3. Let's start with a good one. North Hills 3-0 on the season. They go to Pine Richland, who's 2-0 on the season. North Hills missed the playoffs last year, Sean. They hadn't won their first 3 games of a regular season since 2019. That's what they're going to try to do tonight against a very good Pine Richland team. North Hills defense has been impressive through the first couple weeks. They have wins against 6A Hempfield and Seneca Valley in 5A. Meanwhile, Pine Richland, led by their running back, Max Miller, 299 yards rushing in just 2 games so far this season. They also look at their quarterback, sophomore Aaron Stradler. He's also a threat running the ball as well. That should be a good matchup tonight.
It's going to be a good matchup, but here's the thing in the differentiation of opponents already. North Hills has played 2 teams in Hempfield and Seneca Valley, which are struggling out of the box right now. Pine Richland picked up a very big win 2 weeks ago against Central Catholic. Central Catholic was coming off a tough matchup in the kickoff classic that took place at Woodland Hills against a national power, ranked in the top 25 in the country. But then to come back the next week, I know that's a physical game, rough game, but Pine Richland really took it defensively to Central Catholic. So North Hills is really going to have to limit Pine Richland on the offensive end, and they're going to have to find a way to move the football against that Pine Richland defense that has been so solid through its first couple of games.
Another top matchup in the WPIL for week 3. Olsh 1-1 on the year, visiting South Allegheny. Surprisingly, the Gators are 3-0 on the season, not too far from where you grew up down near Thomas Jefferson. South Allegheny struggled for a lot of years. They're 3-0 for the first time since 1977. Sean and I both weren't born yet. We know you weren't, but how about me? I wasn't born yet either. and they're led by their quarterback, Ryan Cordes. He's the WPIAL third leading passer.
And this is what you love to see about the WPIAL. South Allegheny for years has been a program that has been struggling, but they finally seem to have gotten something going this season with the 3-0 start. And you know what? They've taken advantage of the schedule. They've played the games they beat the teams that they've been given, and that's the quality thing. But when you're a team that doesn't have the program history like a South Allegheny, it's a great thing to start out hot because you get all that momentum and that boost going into section play. So if you can rattle off wins early and learn what it takes to win in those games, that's going to help. On the other side for Olsh was coming off a season last year where they were riddled with injuries, lost their starting quarterback, lost a bunch of playmakers throughout the year, and the tides just really turned for the Chargers last season. This year's a little bit different. They do have the one hiccup already, but this Olsh team is better than last year's team already just over the course of 2 games.
We talked about where Sean grew up. How about me? Bell Vernon. The Leopards 1-0 on the year. They visit McKeesport, who's 0-3. This is a marquee matchup that was circled at the beginning of the season to be a big game here in week 3. But McKeesport, even though they're 0-3, they've had a tough schedule to start out the year. Thomas Jefferson, Peters Township, 2 of those teams that they faced. And Bell Vernon, they open up against Aliquippa in week 1 at Aliquippa. That game was canceled due to the lightning and the weather. Last week, they host Central Valley. They get the job done against Central Valley, a powerhouse out of 3A. Bell Vernon's run defense is very good. McKeesport has some big-time athletes that can play football. That should be a good one tonight from McKeesport.
I think it's easy to argue that McKeesport might have had the hardest schedule so far in all of WPIAL. As you mentioned, Thomas Jefferson, and that was one that McKeesport just let get away from them. 28-7, the Tigers were in the lead in that game, ended up losing in overtime to Thomas Jefferson on a 4th and goal tush push. Before that, Peters Township, that's class of 5A. They're in the class of 5A right now. Defending champions, they are the ones with the target on their back, and McKeesport just wasn't able to handle the passing game for Peters Township. But then they also opened up against Lake Ohio and lost a multiple overtime classic to start the season. They have 2 overtime losses. While on the other hand, Bell Vernon, I think they're grateful that Aliquippa game ended up getting postponed because it was already 13-0 with 2 minutes left in the first quarter when it was in a lightning delay. Aliquippa was rolling in that game. But a good bounce back by Bell Vernon against Central Valley because they really showed in a clash of 3A teams last year that were 2 quality teams. Central Valley is another team that's sitting at 0-3 right now, but another team like McKeesport, don't dwell on it because they have also had a very difficult schedule running the course of Montour, TJ, then Bell Vernon. And Bell Vernon, I mean, they have playmakers. They lost a lot from last year, but Matt Humbert is such a good coach. He's going to continue to have a core ready going there.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting, some of these teams, when they schedule their non-conference matchups in the first couple weeks of the season, some loaded up. Yep. They like the tough competition. Others put a couple cakewalks in there, they think anyhow, going into the season. But all those teams you just mentioned, they went hardcore to get a very tough non-conference schedule.
Well, the WPIAL kind of stepped in a little bit too this year and wanted these matchups of teams that were good versus good to kind of take away from that, getting certain matchups of like a really good team versus a team that you don't want to see, go out there and end up losing by 60 points. The WPIAL helped out a lot in kind of balancing out these non-conference schedules to give us a lot better matchups.
Woodland Hills at Penn Trafford tonight. Penn Trafford plays a Woodland Hills team that, they got blown out by Central Catholic, but they've had a tough schedule so far too. Penn Trafford's defense, meanwhile, has been impressive. Woodland Hills is led by their big-time receiver, Scoop Smith, and Penn Trafford's led by their big running back, Tasso Whipple. That should be a good showdown tonight.
Yeah, it's a matter of what happens in that game. Penn Trafford just faced who we're calling tonight, the Moon Tigers, last week and won 14-7 in a dogfight. And the thing is, though, Scoop Smith is just dynamic. He's not the biggest player in the world. He's probably 5'7", we're being generous, honestly, in terms of height. But he's the fastest player in the WPIAL and could arguably up there for fastest player in the country because of, I think he ran a 4.340.
Fast.
It's fast, but Penn Trafford's going to have to slow down the speed of Woodland Hills. Woodland Hills has more speed than Penn Trafford has overall, so it's going to be a matter of the speed of Woodland Hills, the technique defensively of Penn Trafford. it's another matchup that meshes really well because you're going to learn, is it the speed that can handle the 48 minutes? Is it the defense that's going to stand strong for the 48 minutes? Because Penn Trafford doesn't light up the scoreboard like Woodland Hills can.
Our final game to preview tonight here in Week 3 features two of the top running backs in Class 2A. South Park's Eric DeRue and Steel Valley's Donald Barksdale. Barksdale has had a really good high school career. Those two teams, Steel Valley at South Park tonight at 7 o'clock. Steel Valley, opening season loss to Clarendon. That's no easy game there either, Sean. They tried to bounce back, and they did with an impressive win against Washington. Meanwhile, on the other side, or Steel Valley rather, after getting stomped by Bishop Canevin 42-6. They've had a little bit of a tough schedule to start out the season. South Park, meanwhile, as we said, they got one of the top running backs as well. They lost to Deer Lakes last week. This is an Allegheny Conference opener between these two teams tonight.
Yeah, Steel Valley, as you mentioned it, difficult opener against Clarendon on a neutral site. They also played in the Kickoff Classic at Woodland Hills. And Steel Valley just could not move the ball against the Clarendon team that is either number 1 or number 2 in Class 1A, however you look at it. You got Fort Cherry, you got Clarendon, you got everybody else kind of below the two of those, right? Because you have Clarendon, who's just dynamic playmakers across the board. Fort Cherry has the best player in Class A, without a doubt, Matt Sig. But on the other side, so Steel Valley, they still have the team speed. They always had team speed. They really bounced back well last week. But the thing is, South Park is such a sleeper team in Class 2A. They got a big offensive line, quality running back, solid passing game. South Park is a team that, while they've had their hiccups early on, they are still a threat. And this is going to be a big game for South Park to show where they can really be come postseason time and how far this South Park team can go, because they haven't gone far in a long time. And this is a chance for them to really take that next step.
Should be a good one from South Park tonight. It's time for our Week 3 picks, and we're going to welcome Sean into the picks. We will end with West A Moon behind us for the final game. But let's start first with North Hills, Pine Richland. Who do you like tonight?
I like Pine Richland. I think Pine Richland's win against Central Catholic was a statement game for Pine Richland, who is determined to get back to the championship in 5A and get back at Peters Township for what that final score was last year, because it was not close.
I think it's a competitive game, but I also like Pine Richland because they're at home tonight. If the game was at North Hills, I might go with the Indians, but I'm going to go with the Rams at home for Pine Richland. Olsh at South Allegheny.
I have to go with Olsh at this current point. I know South Allegheny's chasing history. They've already done it pretty much through 3 games right now, first time since 1977. But the thing is, this is a bigger opponent for South Allegheny, and this is like some teams we have talked about, just South Park. This is going to be a telltale sign of where South Allegheny can be in the conference race and potential get in the playoffs.
I'm going to go with South Allegheny, the Gators at home, to stay undefeated on the season. So Sean and I split on that one. Bell Vernon at McKeesport tonight. Again, McKeesport looking for their first win on the season.
I think McKeesport's going to get it, especially being at home for the first time this year. I think that's going to help out McKeesport a little bit. And let's not forget, they haven't really utilized much the number 1 running back in the country in the class of 2027 in Kamon Spell. If they start giving him the ball a little bit more, instead of having 8 to 10 touches a game, they give him 15 to 20. I don't think Bell Vernon's going to be able to contain him and Anthony Boyd for the full 4 quarters.
My heart wants to go with Bell Vernon, but my mind's going to say McKeesport.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Sean. I think McKeesport defeats the Leopards at home. Woodland Hills at Penn Trafford.
I mentioned team speed, and I think team speed's going to beat the defense of Penn Trafford. Penn Trafford is not a flashy team that puts a lot of points on the board all the time, but Woodland Hills, it takes one big splash play with them, and it's one over-the-top throw to Scoop Smith, and that's where the ball can get rolling. And I think Woodland Hills puts a big play up on the board early, and they go from there.
I agree. I think Woodland Hills on the road defeats Penn Trafford tonight. Steel Valley at South Park, we just talked about a little bit ago, going to be a good one.
I'm going to give South Park the advantage at home. Again, I think the size of the offensive line and the defensive line that South Park has, I think, is going to be the overall benefit for them against the Steel Valley team that struggled against Clarendon, who was much bigger than Steel Valley.
Finally, the game behind us. And Sean and I will take another step aside. You can get a live look here at Moon High School, where tonight at 7 o'clock, it's West Allegheny at Moon. 2 old rivals, Sean, part of the Parkway Conference forever. Both school districts right next to each other. For those out there that aren't aware, the Pittsburgh International Airport is in West Allegheny, believe it or not. Most people think it's Moon. The old airport was in Moon, still a property out here in Moon Township, but they both neighbor the airport area. They're one of the two largest in Allegheny County, believe it or not, and they'll do battle here in a non-conference matchup here tonight at 7 o'clock. Sean will have the call. I'll be alongside him in the booth on the Trib Live High School Sports Network. Who do you like tonight, Indians or Tigers?
I feel like I need to Kirk Herbstreit this, doing the play-by-play and not give the pick and just kind of give a little analysis. But no, I think just because of the circumstances, and I'm not picking a favorite here, just so if anybody watches our broadcast after, they think, oh, he's rooting for Moon, he's rooting for West Allegheny. I just think the fact that West Allegheny has not been able to put together a full 48 minutes of football is going to be a tough thing to go against a Moon team that has faced two quality opponents to start the year. So I'm going with Moon as of right now simply because of the differentiation between games played.
I think this is a close game here tonight from Moon Township. I don't expect it to be a blowout. I think both these teams are going to be pretty evenly matched up. My wife went to West Allegheny, and she teaches at West Allegheny. So if there's any Indian fans out there watching, Mrs. Troop from the middle school for 8th grade, she's an Indian, but tonight I'm going to go with the Tiger. Give me that Tiger head. I'm going to put the Tiger head on here tonight. I think Moon defeats West Allegheny.
It's going to be a good one. It really is. And again, it's just all going to come down to what has West Allegheny been able to work on over the last 3 weeks between the scrimmage and the two postponements to get themselves completely prepared for a full 48 minutes of football, because folks are going to get that tonight.
Sean, awesome stuff, man.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. I've known
it.
Sean Saputo for a lot of years. I've worked with him many times, and we're happy to get him out here tonight, finally here on Oneburg with us. We'll do it again. Real good stuff. And make sure you log on to Oneburg this weekend. We're going to have the Steeler postgame show on Sunday after the Steelers battle the Denver Broncos in Denver. Brian will join myself here live on Oneburg. And our Three Rivers podcast the next day on Monday, we'll have Dale Lawley from the Steelers Radio Network joining us to recap the Steeler-Bronco game from Sunday. We hope you get out tonight across Western Pennsylvania. It's a beautiful night, first time in weeks where there's no lightning or storms in the area. It's going to be a perfect night for high school football. Hope you get out and catch a good game somewhere here in the WPIAL. For Sean Saputo, Ed Troop signing off for now. We'll leave you with a live shot here from Moon Township. It's the Indians and the Tigers, 7 o'clock. Have a great night, everyone.